Muammar al-Gaddafi, born 1942, near Sirte, Libya, died October 20, 2011. Sirte was the de facto leader of Libya 1969-2011. Gaddafi had ruled for more than 4 decades when he was ousted by a revolt in August 2011. After evading capture for several weeks, he was killed by rebel forces in October 2011. The son of an itinerant Bedouin farmer, Gaddafi was born in a tent in the Libyan desert. He proved a talented student and graduated from the University of Libya in 1963. A devout Muslim and ardent Arab nationalist, Gaddafi early began plotting to overthrow the Libyan monarchy of King Idris I. He graduated from the Libyan Military Academy in 1965 and thereafter rose steadily through the ranks, all the while continuing to plan a coup with the help of his fellow army officers. On September 1, 1969, Gaddafi seized control of the government in a military coup that deposed King Idris. Gaddafi was named commander-in-chief of the armed forces and chairman of Libya's new governing body, the Revolutionary Command Council. Gaddafi removed the US and British military bases from Libya in 1970. He expelled most members of the native Italian and Jewish communities from Libya that same year, and in 1973 he nationalized all foreign-owned petroleum assets in the country. He outlawed alcoholic beverages and gambling, in accordance with his own strict Islamic principles. Gaddafi also began a series of persistent but unsuccessful attempts to unify Libya with other Arab countries. He was adamantly opposed to negotiations with Israel and became a leading figure in the Arab world in the rejection of the Egyptian-Israeli peace process. He earned a reputation for military adventurism. His government was implicated in several abortive coup attempts in Egypt and Sudan, and Libyan forces persistently intervened in the long-running civil war in neighboring Chad. From 1974 onward, Gaddafi espoused a form of Islamic socialism as expressed in the Green Book. This combined the nationalization of many economic sectors with a brand of populist government ostensibly operating through people's congresses, labor unions, and other mass organizations. Innovations along these lines continued to be introduced, including a system of government in 1977 called Jamahiriya, a neologism implying a popular decentralized confederation. Gaddafi relinquished his formal leadership of Libya's government in 1979 but, despite the claims of merely guiding a revolutionary form of populist democracy, the reins of power remained firmly concentrated in his hands. Meanwhile, Gaddafi was becoming known for his erratic and unpredictable behavior on the international scene. His government financed a broad spectrum of groups worldwide that sought revolutionary objectives of their own, including the Black Panthers and the Nation of Islam in the United States and the Irish Republican Army in Northern Ireland. Squads of Libyan agents assassinated émigré opponents abroad, and his government was allegedly involved in several bloody terrorist incidents in Europe perpetrated by Palestinian or other Arab extremists. These activities brought him into growing conflict with the U.S. government, and in April 1986 a force of British-based U.S. warplanes bombed several sites in Libya, killing or wounding several of his children and narrowly missing Gaddafi himself. Libya's purported involvement in the destruction of a civilian airliner in 1988 over Lockerbie, Scotland, led to United Nations (UN) and US sanctions that further isolated Gaddafi from the international community. In the late 1990s, however, Gaddafi turned over the alleged perpetrators of the bombing to international authorities. UN sanctions against Libya were subsequently lifted in 2003, and, following Gaddafi's announcement that Libya would cease its unconventional weapons program, the United States dropped most of its sanctions as well. Although some observers remained critical, these measures provided an opportunity for the rehabilitation of Gaddafi's image abroad and facilitated his country's gradual return to the global community. In February 2009, Gaddafi was elected chairman of the African Union, and later that year he gave his first speech before the UN General Assembly. The lengthy critical speech, in which he threw a copy of the UN Charter, generated a significant measure of controversy within the international community. In early 2010, Gaddafi's attempt to remain as chairman of the ONU beyond the customary one-year term was met with resistance from several other African countries and ultimately was denied. In February 2011, after anti-government demonstrations forced Presidents Zine al-Abidine Ben Ali and Hosni Mubarak from power in the neighboring countries of Tunisia and Egypt, anti-Gaddafi demonstrations broke out in the Libyan city of Benghazi. As the protests spread throughout the country, the Gaddafi regime attempted to violently suppress them, directing police and mercenary forces to fire live ammunition at protesters and ordering attacks by artillery, fighter jets, and helicopter gunships against demonstration sites. Foreign government officials and international human rights groups condemned the regime's assault on the protesters. Gaddafi's violent tactics also alienated senior figures in the Libyan government. The Libyan Minister of Justice resigned in protest, and a number of senior Libyan diplomats either resigned or issued statements of support for the uprising. On February 22, Gaddafi delivered a rambling defiant speech on state television, refusing to step down and calling the demonstrators traitors and saboteurs. He claimed that the opposition had been directed by al-Qaeda and that the protesters had been under the influence of hallucinogenic drugs. He urged his supporters to defend him by fighting protesters. Gaddafi's hold on power appeared increasingly weak as the opposition forces gained strength. By the end of February, opposition forces had established control over large amounts of Libyan territory, encircling Tripoli, where Gaddafi remained in control but in growing isolation. In interviews with Western media on February 28, Gaddafi insisted that he was still well loved by the Libyan people and denied that the regime had used violence against the demonstrators. He repeated his claim that the opposition in Libya had been organized by al-Qaeda. As the opposition gained strength, international pressure for Gaddafi to step down increased. We love hearing from our viewers, so feel free to leave a comment below sharing your favorite historical period or any topics you'd like us to cover in future videos. Your feedback is invaluable to us as we strive to create content that resonates with our audience. Thank you for tuning in today. Remember, subscribing is the best way to stay connected with us and be part of our history-loving community. Until next time, keep exploring the past and discovering the wonders of history together with us. Subscribe now and embark on an exciting journey through time.